Welcome to Voices of the Ancestors, where we explore Georgian polyphonic songs
and the women who sing them.
Hello, the voices today are me, Holly Taylor-Zunz.
And me, Susan Thompson. And our guest today is Zoé Perret, a French singer who's been living in Tbilisi for 14 years.
If you listened to the very first episode of the podcast, you would have heard our guest Jen Morris mention Zoé and how exciting it was for her to see a non-Georgian woman singing Georgian songs and speaking the language so well. And I think in that way, Zoé has been a good example to me too, seeing her sing alongside Georgians so naturally, as if she were an honorary Georgian, or showing me that there is a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to the Georgian language.
Yes, and you've mentioned language. I'd like to thank Zoé for agreeing to be interviewed in English, which is not her first language. It might even be her third or fourth language.
Yes, but she does it so well, doesn't she?
Yes.
Zoé's really well known in the folk scene in Tbilisi. When you mention her name, for example, everyone says, "Oh, Zoé, you know her, I love her." And she's very well accomplished as a musician and a singer, but that doesn't mean she's not still hungry for knowledge. She's fascinated by Georgian polyphony still. For example, she said that she's intrigued to see how should my body be when I sing this Megrelian song versus how should it be for this Kakhetian song, or how is it different when you're singing on a stage versus waiting for that hachapuri around the supra table.
Yeah, that thirst for knowledge is still there, isn't it? And it was when she was speaking, you really sort of felt those everything that it can be to be on a stage, the expectations one has of oneself. And then just the fact that she'd observed that it affects Georgians in just the same way as it does anyone else. And it was really wonderful to hear her insights into the culture, the singing culture. And I was really pleased to be able to ask her from her perspective as a single woman in Georgia and someone who has set up and run a business for 6 or 7 years, just how she felt the balance of the sexes was, what her perspective was. And it was great to have those first-hand observations.
Yeah, I loved that little gem right at the end of the interview. And Zoé loves to be inclusive and include all her friends. And having learnt from and sung with so many people over the years, she was quite careful not to mention too many names to not miss anyone out, wasn't she?
She was. But one ensemble that she was very happy to talk about was her collaboration with her own family at the International Symposium for Traditional Polyphony.
That was great. So listeners, just sit back and enjoy the show. By the way, if you enjoy this episode, you might consider buying Susan and I a coffee or a tea on Ko-fi or PayPal, and all the information can be found on our website under the donate page, or click the link in the show notes. But anyway, for now, here's Zoé. Hello, Zoé. Welcome to the podcast. Would you introduce yourself for us?
Thank you for hosting me. My name is Zoé Perret. I was born in France, in the south of France. I can say I was connected to music since my early childhood, since I started to play violin at the age of 6. And the whole my life, I was singing in different choirs. And as a student, I was studying, amongst others, ethnomusicology. I got interested in traditional polyphony and decided to first, actually, during my master's degree, since I was studying Russian as well, I went to Russia to first get introduced to polyphony of oral tradition from Voronezhskaya Oblast, so from a specific region in Russia. But then when I came back to Paris, I had a chance to work in a small festival in the south of France that was dedicated that year to South Caucasus. And that's when I first met my Georgian friends, new Georgian friends, as well as people from Azerbaijan and Armenia. And it was for me a wonderful discovery, both musically and musically speaking. So from my studies of ethnic musicology, I knew a little bit about Georgian singing, but combined to this human experience that I had with Georgians, I thought, okay, this is a wonderful opportunity to go a little bit deeper to that culture. And okay, now after the festival, I need to go to Georgia. I need to meet these people, and I need to understand and practice more about this Georgian polyphony. So I decided, that was back in 2006, 14 years ago already. And I decided then to come to Tbilisi. I found a little project as a volunteer. So I was supposed to stay here only for 1 year. But of course, at the end of this year, I thought, okay, this is not enough. I need more time to get to know more about the culture and also about the singing, because since the very first day when I was here, I started to learn Georgian polyphony. I got introduced to people who were singing from these friends that I had in France, that I had met on this festival, and so on. So I found the experience so incredible that after a year, it was only the beginning, and I continued to learn, and still here I am after 14 years.
So, from your introduction and just starting, I'm kind of, it takes me back to not long ago, when I was at the 9th symposium, International Symposium 2008, and you were at the symposium, but also your family were at the symposium singing.
Exactly.
How did that happen?
Well, first it happened from I realized that in Georgia, people like hearing people singing in a family, and then we have often what they call Saujahu ensemble, the family ensemble, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had never thought before that I also have a family, actually, and they can also sing. So when we were thinking about the next symposium arriving, I suddenly realized that probably the main person that taught me singing, or at least from whom I have taken, let's say, this passion of singing, is my father. So he used to sing to me since my childhood, and he's a very good singer, although we didn't actually really sing together so much. But by the way, he got quite interested in the Georgian polyphonic singing as well, since I was living here and talking to him about this. So I knew that he knew some Georgian songs, and I knew as well that my sister can sing, my brother can sing. So it was a kind of challenge. Okay, they are in France, I'm here. We don't get to gather so often, but why not try to do something? And this is why I proposed to the organizers of the festival, of the symposium, and they said, yeah, that would be the great idea. So the challenge was really hard, because we only had like a couple of days basically to prepare this repertoire for the concert. But finally we did it, and we sang Georgian songs as well as Basque songs and Occitan songs, so from France.
Oh, wow.
Such a lovely concert.
Yeah, it's great to have those combined. And I've actually just been listening to your album, Kimilia's album. That's your ensemble in Tbilisi. And you haven't just got Georgian songs on there either, have you?
Yes, yeah. So we have a few songs from the Middle Ages and from Renaissance periods in France. We have one, for example, from Guillaume de Machaut. And we decided to perform that because we love the harmonies that are in there, and somehow we find ancient Georgian polyphony having some similarities. I mean, we can, let's say, find a kind of common soul with these harmonies. And I found it interesting to combine Georgian and French polyphony. And we did so in the album so that it's kind of mixed. So it's not first parts French and second Georgian, but we try to put them together to have another way of listening to them.
Fit-on le merveilleux serpent, que Phébus de sa flèche.
Oh, that's so nice. And you were chatting the other day that you're starting to think about a second album. Can you share your thoughts about that?
Yes, so we recorded this album last year in March, and I thought that as a challenge first, and because we did have accumulate other songs as well that we couldn't record yet as Kimilia, and we just want to share more to the people. So that would be great if we could record this next one. Of course, it's a little bit hard now with the sanitary situation. So let's see. But I'm hoping for beginning of 2021, at least, it will be ready. We will continue recording some Georgian songs, as well as other songs as well. And what we want to introduce also in this new album would probably be some collaborations with other singers or instrumentalists. For example, we had this one song recorded with Dato Khositashvili. So it was Batarabich Idamik Arga, quite famous song, city song from Oriental style, let's say. And Dato had the idea to we wanted to make a little bit different version because this is quite a famous song. So he did a small arrangement with the guitar so that it sounds, let's say, our own way or his own way, and not the usual one. So in general, I'm really interested in collaboration with different artists. Also, maybe why not in the future collaborate with experimental musicians, musicians that work with electronic music as well. Maybe not now for the second one, but for the third, why not?
Yeah, the third experimental album, right?
Exactly.
Classic.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's clear that you're a natural in collaboration. And I was saying to Susan that you come across as someone who wants to gather people together, and you have a natural joy of bringing people together. So you bring your family together as an ensemble. You've come to Georgia, you've brought together an ensemble there, Kimilia, and you also brought together, you were a businesswoman as well, and you brought together something there with Zoé Stan, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for these words. It's true that I like when I see people gathering and enjoying good time together, especially when there is something that connects them. And music, especially singing, is a wonderful way, I think, of sharing emotions and sharing, let's say, many things actually. So this is probably why I like not only singing, but singing in polyphony, singing together with other people. So the idea of Zoé Stan, which was a bar it was functioning for 5 years, was first to have a place where I could gather some people who would like to listen to traditional music. So I would organize sometimes small concerts of traditional ensembles, and that was probably the part that I liked the most. It was really, really nice to have these people gathering for the people singing, but as well for this public that was enjoying it. So from the point of view of the organizer, that was really, really nice to see and to feel. And as so you were saying that I like bringing people together. Yeah, in Kimilia, for example, it is true that probably the most important for me is not only singing, but singing with the people that I love, with people that I'm friends with, and this is the case. Like we get along very well, and that is why I don't think that we will stop singing. Probably, I think it's really some like condition number one to have an ensemble, whatever the number of people is to feel well and to enjoy being with these people. But if they sing well, it's even better than that. And
Agreed.
feeling these voices together, it's great. But if it first for sure passes through this relationship, through this friendship.
Well, yeah, and I suppose singing together only strengthens that relationship.
Exactly.
Delia, Delia, na, na, Delia, Delia, na, ni, na. Delia, Delia, na, na, Delia, Delia, na, ni,
So
na.
Zoe, when we were preparing for the interview, I was chatting with Nino Nanaishvili, and she holds you in very high regard, I have to say. And because you used to sing for a while with Ialoni, and
Yes.
I remember coming across you when you'd very recently joined. I think they were releasing one of their albums, and they had a concert at the Folk Garden. And you were saying just how hard it was, and how many words you had to learn in a very short space of time. And I just thought you'd like to hear that, Nino's words were of having you in the ensemble was that your ability to sing the middle voice in Mingrelian songs, she just thinks is unsurpassed. So all your hard work, it was well worth it.
It's really nice to listen to these words. Thank you. It was for me as well a wonderful experience. And it was the first time actually that I was invited to sing in a Georgian ensemble with Georgian people. So I joined Ialoni in 2016, I think, or 15. I don't remember exactly. But before, I had been living here for almost 10 years without being able actually to join properly, let's say, a choir. Yes, I did sing with supras and with friends in general around the table and stuff. But I think joining a choir was like a second or third step that was not so easy to make as a foreigner. So talking to Nino, I was mentioning that I would like, I would like to sing in an ensemble, and that I was planning to create my own choir for that. Then she said, by the way, you could maybe, as a first experience, you could try and sing with us. And I was like, yeah, I didn't expect at all this invitation. It was really nice. So I sang with them a couple of years. Ialoni is a female choir. And yeah, I did learn a lot from being in a choir, being with Georgian people. And that was good experience, I think. That helped me as well when I decided, because in the end my idea was anyway to create my own ensemble, because I had my own view and as a musician. So yeah, that was definitely a an important part of my experience as a singer.
Zoe, where do you generally learn your songs and who do you learn them from? I know you mentioned your father as your first teacher, and then this festival in the Caucasus where you first heard Georgian songs. But then when you came to Georgia, how do you pick up new songs?
Good question. Actually, I always ask myself, by the way, where did I learn this song from? And I'm now happy to realize that I have had so many teachers that sometimes I cannot say exactly from where I learned what, but that was what was wonderful for me was to be able to join some supra, some gathering at homes with different friends that I made time by time. So I would say the first source for me of learning was just attending rehearsals from different choirs, even though I didn't have I never had actually private lessons as such. But sometime, I would always carry my my notebook where I would write down the words, and I would always manage to find an opportunity to ask the person, okay, the song that you just sung now, can you just tell me the lyrics? And then I would try to remember it or recording it, with my recorder. And then people would be kind enough as well to just teach me on the go, let's say, the three parts. Because, as a musician, of course, it was never too difficult for me to separate in my mind, the three voices, the three parts. And as they always say, you don't know completely the song until you know the three parts, right? So this was something really fascinating for me to see how they interact, these parts, how you can also improvise a little bit, of course, on each of these parts. And as a source of learning, of course, I should mention as well the archive recordings. At that time, there was this radio, folk radio, that was actually playing only folk music. So I would, for the first couple of years, I think I was listening only exclusively to old Georgian folk songs. And it's, even though you were not born in the country, I think if you listen to it constantly, then you in the end kind of get the feeling that there is something that sounds natural or not natural, so that you would be able to decide the way you want to interpret, the way you want to perform this song, because you have kind of understanding in not theoretically but practically, because listening to recordings, or even to real people, but listening is practice as well, I think, for learning.
Yes, I have a daughter who has attended many rehearsals and workshops with me, and as a child, so she would be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sort of age, and the adults in the room would despair of her and think she wasn't learning because she didn't sit still and she didn't pay attention. But I knew that just the very fact that she was in the room and the sound was all around her, that it was getting into her body somehow. So, and now she's a musician. So yes.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. And I should mention as well, of course, people. So that was, I've always lived in Tbilisi since I'm in Georgia. So this is my base, let's say. But of course, I did have traveled a lot in the regions, in the countryside. And this was also a very important part of my studying process, is to go to Svaneti, to go to Samegrelo, to go to Achara, Guria, Kaheti as well, where there were this wonderful, how to say, tradition holders, right?
Mhm.
We had a lovely word from Nino. She uses the word ethnopore for somebody that lives in the village.
Exactly.
and
Yeah. So
holds this
I wanted to
tradition.
say, but I was not sure in English, because they say like in Georgian ethnophore.
Yeah.
So one example was Polikarpe Khubulava, for example, in Samegrelo, whom I knew very well, and I was really, like, we can say, good friends with him. And I got to meet him in 2007 already. So for years I would go, and sometimes I remember when I was kind of burned out in my work. I was working in an office at that time. I decided once to go to Samegrelo, and for 1 week go and being only busy with learning Megrelian songs with Polikarpe. So I will never forget that. I still have like recordings of some duo of me with Polikarpe, who passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago.
What a treasure.
Yeah, real treasure.
Zoe, can you tell us about bringing other choirs to Georgia and traveling around and showing them the regions?
Yeah, exactly. So I've since 2013, every year I have been bringing some people, mostly from France. So people who are interested in Georgian or even in polyphony from different parts of the world. Sometimes I bring them so that they can discover Georgian polyphony, and at the same time discover not only the songs but the culture, the hospitality, and many things, and of course countryside and landscapes and stuff. So what I generally do is that for 10 days or 2 weeks they come to Georgia, and we go directly to the villages. So mostly I have been traveling with them to Western Georgia for the moment, but I'm planning to go in the next years to Eastern Georgia as well. So we've been to Guria, Samegrelo, Achara, and Svaneti, of course, with the Chamgelianis, with the family from Lahushti, a wonderful family of singers. And it's always like a really, really big happiness to see these people gathering. So French people who enjoy and discover Georgian songs, and Georgian people who get to know a little bit more about French people. And there is a real cultural exchange taking place at this time, which is like taking place very naturally, I would say, and so it's like 24 hours of non-stop. Something is happening all the time. They would try to learn a little bit of the language from both sides. And so yeah, singing is just, again, another way, a wonderful way to get people together. So during these stays, during these workshops, let's say, I am I'm involved in the pedagogical part as well, since I have now gathered some experience as a teacher, which is something else that I realize that I enjoy as well very much. So apart from performing, I think teaching is also a really wonderful way to learn even better. So when you teach, well, I have the feeling that I'm really, really getting deeper into that song, and so I love this process, and I love really seeing people enjoying it. So yeah, I think that's probably my favorite professional activity, is to teach and to see people then, coming from nothing, go, to see this musical product, if you can call, at the end. I think that's wonderful.
Are you teaching at the moment?
So at the moment, with this sanitary situation, complicated, of course, in 2020, some people from France that I knew from my workshops asked me if I could organize some online lessons. So in the beginning, they would want like maybe some individual lessons, because I didn't realize how we could do, choir online. But then time by time, we managed to set a situation where we could have an online class for actually quite a lot of people. So since April or May now, I have been teaching online with sessions that actually sometimes gather. Well, now I have to fix a maximum number of people, because during the first session, almost 80 people came. So it was really like too much.
80.
80, yeah, exactly. So I realized, wow. But of course, this was because the people in France were quarantined, right? They didn't have the right to go out. So many people had time, and they responded, yes. My first sessions were like, okay, you can, I'm just offering this. And, I didn't put like any limits. But then I realized, okay, let's at least divide into 3. And so yeah, after that I continued, and now I'm trying to build more and more, a system where, if the more I have students, the more I can separate them into different levels, different interests, because there are some people now who are completely beginners. They just like singing, maybe not more than in the shower, but they just listen to a Georgian song once, and they thought, okay, maybe I could try to do something. So what I like in this situation is to introduce them not only to the songs, but to the country a little bit, talking about the different regions, and explaining how differently you can sing depending on the origin of the particular song. So I have now set a kind of introductory workshop that I organize over a weekend, where people get to know specific regions, what characterize them, visually as well, a little bit historically, and of course musically speaking. So this is something I think in my teaching, the style for me that is closer for me is really to the stylistic approach, so regional approach. So I really pay a lot of attention on the performing manner. So before we start to learn a song, of course, we should know what it is about, but also where it is from, and what is expected from this style, the musical style, as a performer. And then we can try, some different vocal techniques that are specific to that region. This is actually something that I have only learned through my practice and through listening and through singing with these people a lot, with Georgian people. But this was not something that was put into words to me. And so as a person that needed at the time to, somehow to imitate, when we talk about the manner, I had to find in my own body, let's say, in my own vocal machine. I don't know how to say in English. How to do, what to do, what do I feel when I do this or this particular, let's say, for example, Megrelian song, yeah? So it's a kind of mixture between words when you want to transmit it to someone. I like using images, like imagine that you have this and this and that, or you are on a cloud, or you are on a train or whatever. I didn't realize, but students keep telling me like, "Oh yeah, it's crazy how many images you have in your mind." I didn't realize, and then oh yeah, it's true. Actually, I always talk about different things that are not happening, but that I just imagine, and that helps me to perform. So it's a mixture of these images and also some physical things that are happening inside, because I also did follow a course as and to become a voice teacher. So that was in France, but it was conducted mostly online. It was 3-4 years ago, and I felt I needed this course. It was a 1-year course designed for any people who wanted to teach other people how to develop their vocal potential. So this approach is called chant, voix et corps, singing, voice and body. So it's a physical approach of voice pedagogy. And so I learned a lot about how the voice is functioning, what is going on in our body, but even more importantly, how important it is to try to connect mentally to our feelings, and always keeping in mind that when we sing, we use an instrument, which is our body. So not only limiting the vocal production to our vocal cords, this is only one part, but the whole body is actually involved in this process. So in this approach, we pay a lot of attention to free our body to be able to free our voice. And by this process of freeing the voice, you can sing in different styles, which is actually the latest aim, I would say. And it's really the case for Georgian singing, because it's different styles that you can sing in one, let's say, big Georgian tradition. Actually, it's completely different to sing Carretian song and to sing Svanetian or Megrelian, right? So of course the teacher that I had was absolutely not, she didn't know anything about Georgian singing, but in general, she was teaching about the voice, and this was really useful for me to apply to this to the Georgian reality, and what is let's say common to different Georgian songs, and what is specific to this region or this region. I think this is really interesting. I'm really passionate about that, and I really need to know more about that. And I think it will be probably one of the constant things that I will always be learning through my life. And it's really only the beginning.
Oh, I so want to put you together with the person who used to lead Maspinzelli, who was a Georgian woman, but who spent time in France, in Paris, because when she was teaching, she would be trying to convey, like you're saying, wrestling with how to convey the different ways of singing in the different regions. It was just, and when you were speaking, it just brought her words to mind somehow. So I will put you in touch with each other, because I think you will have fascinating conversations.
For sure, with pleasure, with big pleasure.
Yeah, I'm also really interested in this psychophysical approach to singing, and I was wondering, do you see that in Georgians? Do you see that they change their body, or that they have a free and relaxed body when they sing? And is it something that they actively think about, or does it just come naturally to them?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Actually, I think there is a big difference when it comes to Georgians between what's happening on stage and what's happening on the supra, right? What's happening around the table. So I always make this comment to Georgian friends that on stage they don't seem as free as they are around the table. And that is for sure that me as a performer, what I learned the most was not on the stage, listening to them on the stage, but really, really much more in a authentic, let's say, setup. And in authentic, I just mean like real. I don't mean a certain type of singing like this or that. But in authenticity, I mean like real feelings and free feelings. So when you are waiting for Khachapuri and you sing, you don't have the same expectation about yourself while performing than when you are on the stage and when you have all the specialists listening to you, right? So I think yes, it is a good question. Like how to deal with this fact that we at the same time want to be traditional musicians, but at the same time we want to perform, we want to show our art, let's say, to public. So how to do that? Yeah. Of course, it goes through this stage, like it's a kind of necessary procedure, let's say. But I think there is something to think about now here. Maybe different way of considering stage. It could be like a informal stage. It could be stage without stage, let's say. For example, even when I had my bar in Zoé, we did have a small stage, but it's like maybe it really didn't look like a stage. But at the end, we were thinking maybe having people singing on the table, and not and then the people that would be around could listen to them, and it would be a much more natural way of things happening, right? So this is an option. Well, I think when in general, yeah, it is difficult to be very free when you are on stage. Although if you manage to do that, that's wonderful. So yeah, I don't know if I answer to your question, Holly, but I wouldn't say that naturally, especially on stage, they are freed, and that they would, but I mean anyone, and not only Georgians, gain a lot from really, free yourself, even on stage, and consider that you have that the most important thing in your singing will be to transmit your emotions, to transmit your musicality, rather than that, performing exactly the same way as someone 100 years ago was performing. So that is, I think, from my point of view, is something that we should always keep in mind while performing wherever we are.
Oh.
Zoe, what does Voices of the Ancestors mean to you, if anything?
That's a good question. I should think about it a little bit. Voices of the Ancestors. So that's a really nice, beautiful name that for me, for sure, refers to first, of course, this ancient time. Why it refers to the fact that we have singing, we have polyphony that comes from a time where it's we don't know from when exactly it is coming from. So ancestors, to me, it evokes a kind of uncertain time. So there is something about anciency, and as well ancestor in the sense of the blood, yeah, of someone who was before you. It's interesting for me as a non-Georgian, because if we talk about Georgian singing, can I consider these people who were singing like hundreds of years ago as my ancestors? It is difficult to respond to that. But I guess that we can also consider ancestors as like globally seen on the worldwide ancestors, because even for Georgians, they might be Georgians, but they might not have in their family in the past people singing, but still ancestors as a common treasure, let's say, for the world. Maybe we should, not we should, but we can consider that this is a worldwide treasure.
Yes, I like to think of worldwide ancestors being our global treasure. That's delightful and delicious. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Zoe, one of the things I'm curious to ask you, with your experience of living here and running a business here and singing in a all-female ensemble and now running a mixed ensemble, is just your take on the balance between the sexes, between men and women, and just, your perspective.
Yeah, very good question. Well, I think in general, this is probably not in Georgia, but a worldwide question, that it is difficult to be a woman, and that many people do not realize, especially from the men point of view. Yes, we do say that men and women are equal, but when it comes to the reality and to the facts, it is not the same, actually. So there is, unfortunately, a big difference between what is written on the paper and what actually happens. So in Georgia, it is also quite obvious, I would say, that there is a lot of things expected from a woman. And when it comes to singing, if you look at the singing situation of the choirs, most of the choirs are masculine, right? It's men's choirs. Okay, it is difficult to say exactly why, how it happened and stuff, but probably one of the reasons would be as well that when women get married, they are expected to do a lot at home, and they do not have much time. Maybe not everyone would agree with that, but I am for sure I have seen even in female choirs people having to quit because they were getting married, or because and this is less the case when you are a man. So of course I would definitely love to see in the future a society where it will be equally feasible for any gender to spend time for themselves and to spend time enjoying their activity, should there be a man or a woman. Although we should not forget that there are as well female choirs like Ialoni, but like others as well. And I think it is really crucial that these continue, and that we do not see only men on stage. I think female choirs do have another style when it comes to singing as well. And basically, I would say that both are needed, and it is also interesting to me to have choirs that are mixed, So, for example, I decided to sing with men in Kimilia. Some people prefer to have like only women or only men, but actually I think it gives a kind of different color as well. And I am definitely interested in that as well, how we can mix both types of timbres.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic in your group, which I haven't seen much before. It's like you're the founder and leader, I guess, of the ensemble, and the rest of the members, it's 3 men, right?
Exactly. So at the moment we are only 3 with 2 other guys, and we are looking for a bass, which we are missing right at the moment. It was not my intention in the beginning to be singing only with men, but it happened like that I found these people with whom I wanted to sing, and they didn't have another choir experience, and somehow it was mostly connected to our friendship. And now the fact is that these 2 people who are singing with me now, they also have quite high voices, so we wouldn't hire another woman. Otherwise it would be, of course, ideal. I would love to have a choir like with half women and half men, but physically speaking it will be hard, even unless we find a bass Bani, which is a woman, but it's a little bit unlikely.
Oh, there are some beautiful women out there with the most delicious bass voices. You just never know who might walk through the door, Zoe.
Exactly. I really dream of that. Like it has been a big question for me lately, where to find the person that we can sing with.
Yes.
Well, good luck on the search.
Thank you.
And thank
you.
Yeah.
It's really nice to talk to you and to answer to your questions. I was a bit like, okay, I have nothing to say. What should I say? But, when you start, then some things come to your mind. And
Yeah. So sitting here today, I have learned so much in the last half an hour, Zoe. So
really?
Yeah, seriously.
Thank you for asking this question. And I'm sure, it's also, this kind of interviews, it would be even greater after like 10 years or 20 years when you remember what your thoughts were. Thank you for the invitation, really. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure for us too.
It really has. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Voices of the Ancestors with Holly Taylor-Zuntz and Susan Thompson. Our guest was Zoé Perret. If you'd like to hear more, please sign up to receive our email updates. You can do that by visiting our website www.voicesoftheancestors.co.uk and clicking Contact Us, or just click the link in the show notes. Thank you to our listeners who have bought us a coffee. This is such a simple way to support the show and helps to make more episodes. The music in today's episode is by Kimilia and Ialoni, with a field recording of Zoé Perret and Polikarpe Khubulava.